Good morning. It's Kirsten Liebelt. How are you? It's Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Oh, it's a good day, you guys. It's a very, very, very good day. Every day is a good day. I was just about to go into a story that wouldn't be very joyful, so I'm going to not do that. Just going to say it's a happy Tuesday. It's a really good day, you guys. So I'm so glad that you're popping in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in. Yesterday, wow, you guys, like so much conversation in my inbox we talked about when you take certain scripts for type 2, MET, and or if you're on an STAT, the deficiencies that can be created. And there's been so much chatter about that. You guys really found that to be interesting. So just to let you know, on my site, KirstenLiebelt.com, if you go to my firstlastname.com, button number 4 happens to be that list of the deficiency supplementations that can help refill back in, right? And I'm going to open this up here. I'm opening up my other device so that I can look at my information. It's like all my devices are being used. That's crazy pants. Anyway, so that was really fun, though. Really fun to be able to talk to people about that, because I don't think that we think about that. We think only about the prescription that's being given to us. And we don't think about the deficiencies that are being created. But that's not what we're talking about today. So you can go look at that if you want to. And you can always, if you see the replay, come back and ask me questions. If you want to go just look at the site at the list, go look at the list, button number 4. So today what I wanted to talk about is inflammation. And I know that's a very common conversation, but very specifically how you can eat for lower inflammation and why. Okay, because we know. So I'm just going to read you some information. You kind of just join on in. Good morning, Miss Anna. How are you? Inflammation is such a big deal. Like, I never understood that insulin resistance was connected to freaking everything. I would have taken action sooner. If I would have understood that inflammation is like such a conversation, like such a big piece, like getting our inflammation down is such a big piece, I think I would have paid attention sooner. And if you don't know, my insulin resistance had started in my 20s when I was pregnant. First baby, gestational diabetic, second baby, hypoglycemic. And then my dad dies when I'm 30. He's type 2, he's only 63. And I do nothing about my insulin resistance for 20 years, like clueless, maybe choosing to be clueless. I don't know. But then now on the other side of that, starting targeted supplements, changing out my foods, losing 3 sizes in my 50s. Now I'm 59 and I'm not on any meds. And I've completely avoided type 2, which is really like great. And I feel amazing because meds have so many side effects. That was yesterday's conversation. So many like deficiencies. But inflammation is such a core piece of this conversation across the board. So this is the information that I wanted to get across today. Inflammation is often considered the core of many diseases because it's the body's natural response to injury or infection, aimed at promoting healing and protecting the body. However, chronic inflammation, when the inflammatory response persists over time, can contribute to the development and progression of various diseases. Here are the reasons why inflammation is central to many diseases. Number 1, tissue damage. Chronic inflammation can lead to the destruction of tissue and cells. The ongoing damage can impair the function of the organs and the tissues. The second one is immune system dysfunction. The third one is atherosclerosis in cardiovascular diseases. This is a big one because we think that animal fat is causing cardiovascular disease, and it's not. That's another conversation for another day. However, plays a crucial role in formation and progression. Okay, where plaques build up in the arteries, these plaques can rupture, causing heart attacks and strokes. And your body actually creates cholesterol. Your liver makes cholesterol to go and patch up the inflammation, which is maybe opposite of what we've been told. Okay, cancer. Chronic inflammation can create the environment that supports the growth and survival and spread of cancer cells. Neurodegenerative diseases. I'm just going over this briefly, and then I'll talk about how you can change that with food. Neurodegenerative diseases in conditions like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Chronic inflammation is thought to contribute to degeneration of neurons and the progression of these disorders. My mom had dementia. She passed away last year at 94, and she had dementia for 5 years that we took care of her with. Metabolic disorders. Inflammation is linked to obesity and type 2. Adipose fat tissue in obesity can become inflamed, leading to insulin resistance, a precursor to diabetes. Gut health. Such a conversation on gut health, right? Inflammatory bowel disease, such as Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, involve chronic inflammation of the gastrointestinal tract, causing severe digestive issues and increasing the risk of colorectal C. And the last one is systemic effect. Chronic inflammation can have widespread effects throughout the body in influencing various systems and potentially leading to multi-organ dysfunction. So the point is that inflammation, if we can focus on certain things, when I talk about like supplementation, I talk about being very targeted in my thought process. I just was not somebody who was going to supplement to begin with. I would talk about that a lot, like my idea of supplementing. Anna, thanks for all the likes. You're such a sweetheart. I basically, took ibuprofen and a banned weight loss med from Walmart. And the reason why I say that is because like I didn't have a grid. So I wasn't just going to start taking a bunch of stuff because I didn't know what to take. So I decided to be super targeted, and lo and behold, that seemed to be a really good idea. And so that's what I ended up doing. Well, it's the same thing with, if you can think through the lens of insulin resistance so that you can finally lose weight, because when your insulin and sugars are high, you can't lose weight and you're on a hamster wheel. You can do the same thing with inflammation. If you have high inflammation in your body, and just like spoiler alert, if you're insulin resistant, you have high insulin, high insulin equals inflammation. If you can get the inflammation down, you can avoid so many other pieces of your puzzle, right? Like this was just talking about systemic effects. Gut health, metabolic disorders, neurodegenerative diseases, the C word, I always want to put an L in there. Atherosclerosis, cardiovascular, immune system, tissue damage. Like you can avoid a lot of things by getting that, tamping down that inflammation in many different ways, right? Every time you take a script, you're going to have a side effect. That's number one. We talked about that yesterday. And then number two, obviously our diet is a huge piece of the puzzle. So that's why I finally did trade out my ingredients. And I basically then did turn to figuring out new recipes so that I could change my, keep working on my insulin resistance and stop spiking according to how I had been spiking my sugars all the time. I had to fix what got me into the pickle to begin with, right? Okay. So let me talk about then like how you can actually bring down inflammation. Now, this is really interesting. I'll tell you the honest truth here. When I started doing content for insulin resistance, I had already been studying people like Maria Emmerich, Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Eric Berg, if you know of any of those people. Okay, let me just prop that up there. I'd already been studying and I'd already been changing out my ingredients and changing out my food. And that was a really big deal for me. I'll just let you know, like, honestly, it was a really big deal because being Italian, I actually thought that I was never going to be able to do that. I kind of had like a mental block. Have you ever had a mental block around like trading out foods or starting a new habit? And maybe there's a lot of negative self-talk. Maybe there are a lot of tracks in your brain from your childhood, that maybe you're never going to accomplish that, or you're never going to whatever the tracks are, they kind of pop up in our brains, and then it kind of stops us from moving forward. So I was going through my own journey with food, and I was spending some time assessing. I started this probably, just to give you a timeline, the foods I started probably about 51, just shy of 51. And then it took me a handful of years, probably a good 3 years to get a handle on it, because I had to just go through my own journey. And one of the things that I love doing for women is to give you permission to go on your journey. Like I want to give you permission to not feel the pressure of a program. And what I mean by that is you can easily compare yourself to people online that are doing, and I'm going to name things, I'm probably going to get them wrong because I never did them. But like when people do, I think this one's right, 75 hard, let's just say. When people do long-term programs, maybe with a lot of prepackaged food or something like that. And it doesn't work for you, let's say, or it stops working is maybe a better way to say it. And nobody ever told you that insulin was a hormone, and nobody ever told you that if your insulin and your sugars are high, you can't lose weight. And maybe nobody ever told you that when you hit perimenopause and menopause, that working extremely hard and raising your cortisol might not be super helpful. I'm just saying. And I'm not a fitness person. So I get like fireworks on Instagram. Instagram like gives you a party. They party with you. It's so funny. And there are just things that have to change as we get older. And I didn't know any of this stuff, you guys, none of it. But what happens is when you can change the lens, then you can change the results, right? So I want women to have permission. And so like I have a Facebook group. It's called Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women. And every month I do a challenge in there. And because I want you to be able to like get resourced and encouraged and then take down that month, right? We talk about that a lot. And then we'll do it again at the next month. I've done 13 in a row so far. And so the next one is obviously in July, even though the replay of June is still in there. You can jump in. Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women. But a part of what I want to be able to help women do is what I gave myself grace for, I want to give you grace for. And I want you to go on your own journey. But yet I also want to tell you the truth. So when I started this journey, I really did study a lot of people that were doing keto because I knew that keto was going to be low sugar spiking. But so much noise around it. Just oh my gosh, y'all, everybody's so opinionated about food. Everybody's so judgy. They'll just jump down your throat if you are, not eating a certain way. Or, I'm not even kidding you. There are people that have lives about how they're eating being better than God. Like I'm not even going to go there because I don't know enough. I just spoke something that I don't know enough about. I've just seen it. Haven't studied. So disregard. But I'm just saying, like, food is such a conversation. So I really avoided using the terminology keto because a lot of times there's this chasing of ketosis and all of the stuff. And then when I started to study more of Maria Emmerich, she really helped me to understand she doesn't chase ketosis. She chases her macros that she has a freak macro calculator, high protein, moderate, instead of the old keto, the keto that was developed for brain, for epilepsy, which is very, very, very high fat. Okay, that has a purpose. That's where it came from. Has a purpose. It's good. But for weight loss and oftentimes turning back auto things, I don't want to say all the terminology, auto thingamajiggers, high protein, moderate, really good fat, olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, butter, lard, ghee, right? And then you tamp down your carbs, no shocker. Because again, once you've crossed over into insulin resistant land, life changes, but it's a good life. You just think it's a bad life because marketing told you to eat cardboard in the 90s. And so they told you to go low fat. Remember those days? Snackwell cookies. Oh my gosh, you could have all the Snackwell cookies you wanted because they were low fat. What a deal. But that, of course, was like filled with sugar, made us more obese. And then all that processing and inflammation. No bueno. Terrible, terrible, terrible idea. Anyway, but we were told to eat like, dry rice cakes. Terrible. So we have this thought process that when we've crossed over into, like, let's just pretend insulin resistance land, and we have to eat a new way so that we can stop the spikes, so that we can stop the insulin, so that we can, or lower it, and eat real foods, blah, blah, blah. We think, oh no, this is going to be terrible. Get that out of your brain. It's not. You're actually going back to eating real food that tastes amazing. It has full flavor. You don't need to add sugar to get the flavor anymore because you're eating the real food. And yes, you are ditching, processed foods because, like, let's just be realistic, right? But in the meantime, you're eating really good stuff. Okay. So I start studying this and I start taking, steps in my own journey to switch out my ingredients, switch out my foods. And I realized that I could just completely determine what are the foods that I love the most, and then I can change out the ingredients to those foods. And I did not have to stop being a foodie. So, having said that, now we talked about what inflammation like does inside of your body to your different systems and how that is the core of so many diseases, right? And it's very frustrating. But now let's talk about how to fix that with food. And I am going to specifically talk about keto. But when I say keto, I don't mean the marketing keto that you're hearing about. I don't mean the keto products that you can find at Costco. I don't mean the just the made up recipes coming from people. I'm not a recipe creator, by the way. I rely on people who are way better than me to do that. But I'm not talking about the fad keto that people, well, I tried that and then it didn't work. Well, only because it was a super high fat keto and you were told to put butter in your coffee and all sorts of stuff. You're told bad information. I don't know what to tell you. It's just the way it is. Because everybody jumps on the bandwagon to make a buck, right? So the ketogenic diet, now so the ketogenic diet is considered anti-inflammatory for several reasons. So if you're looking to ditch some of your inflammation, this is such a great way to start. This is what I teach in the Facebook group, Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women. I'm grain-free, I'm sugar-free, I don't eat starchy vegetables, and I don't eat sugary fruits, okay? But yet, food abounds and it's amazing. Number one, the reason why it's anti-inflammatory, this I think is going to help a lot of you right now. Reduction in insulin levels. So I already mentioned that, but the keto diet significantly lowers insulin levels due to the reduced intake of carbohydrates. High insulin levels can promote inflammation. So lower insulin levels may reduce inflammation. So that's kind of obvious, but we don't think about that. We don't think about how I did say grain-free, brushless. Thank you for asking. Completely grain-free, not gluten-free, grain-free. There's a difference. Thank you for following. You're awesome. There's a difference. So reduction in insulin levels, number one. Number two, the reason why the keto diet done properly, done well, can reduce inflammation is decreased blood sugar levels. Lower carbohydrate intake leads to more stable blood sugar levels. High blood sugar can trigger inflammatory responses, so stabilizing these levels can reduce inflammation. Okay, that's number two. Number three, they're talking about ketone production, and I want to tread just tiny lightly on that only because, like, I know, like, Maria Emmerich is not teaching to chase, and I'm not a coach of hers or anything like that. I just really appreciate her information. And if you ever want a good cookbook that can help you, like, she has really good cookbooks on Amazon. You can go find them. I have a link on my site, but I'm not even an affiliate on Amazon. I just have the link there because they have really helped me. Like, I have a whole stack of them right here on my shelf. And because she teaches really good ingredient trade outs, and she is mindful of not being the fad conversation, which isn't helping people. And then you're staying on your hamster wheel. So ketone production, the primary ketone body produced during ketosis, beta hydroxybutyrate, BHB, has been shown to have anti-inflammatory properties. BHB can inhibit the NLRP3 inflammasome, a key protein complex involved in inflammatory response. So basically what they're saying is that when you do go into ketosis, which, you're going to, right? Depending upon how you're doing who's the author of the cookbook, Suzette? Maria Emmerich, EMMERICH. EMMERICH. And if you go to my site, which is my first last name.com, KirstenLiebelt.com, scroll down and I do have, it'll say Maria Emmerich cookbooks. And like I said, whatever, it's not even connected to anything yet. But she just does really good stuff. Anyway, so when you do cross over into ketosis, and your body starts to burn more fat for fuel, et cetera, there are anti-inflammatory processes inside of what's happening in that moment. That's probably why when people go, and I am not carnivore, but I understand it, and I understand the benefits of it. And when people do go carnivore, especially if they have an auto thingamajig, they find great relief because it's so anti-inflammatory. And I know it's contrary to what we've been taught on the morning news shows, the Today Show and Good Morning America. I understand it's contrary, but it's just, you can't argue with a changed life. You can't argue with people who are you're welcome, Suzette, turning things around with that. So that's the ketone production. Reduced oxidative stress. The keto diet may enhance mitochondrial function and reduce oxidative stress, which is linked to inflammation. Number 5, lower levels of inflammatory markers, reduced levels, C-reactive protein. Number 6, fatty acid composition. The keto diet typically includes a higher intake of healthy fats like omega-3 fatty acids, which are well documented to help with anti-inflammatory effects. And then number 7 is gut health improvement. So a keto diet can alter the gut microbiome in ways that reduce gut-derived inflammation. Reduced intake of certain carbohydrates can decrease the presence of pathogenic bacteria. And so helping with systemic inflammation. So that's kind of like a nutshell of, that's kind of a nutshell of like what is inflammation doing inside of our body, how destructive it actually is to our actual cells and tissue, and being the precursor to so many different diseases. But then we can go the opposite of that, and we can actually bring down inflammation. So, the first thing that I always teach is, because it's just my own journey. So I'm teaching my own journey, right? And because it took me years, and now I know I can help people condense time. I can help people compress their journey. That's kind of the goal. And so the first thing would be get into the Facebook group, Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women, because I do a challenge in there every month. And repetition is the mother of all skill. So sometimes we have to listen to things over and over and over again. We have to hear things, especially when it's a new thought to our brain, right? Like when it's so contrary to what we've been told in marketing or, in our schooling, education, etc. Debbie, nice to see you. Okay, I can tell you that right now, Debbie. Thanks for asking. She's asking about just ordering a couple things. So, the first thing is get into the Facebook group. The second thing is if you're looking to actually shift what's happening with going from insulin resistant to insulin sensitive, that's when I talk about the trio all the time. Those are 3 supplements that have 3 ingredients that help with insulin sensitivity. It's where I started as a super naive person that didn't have a clue. And I did it because my mom wouldn't leave me alone about my sugars in my 40s, because my dad died of type 2 when I was 30. So she was like, girlfriend, you got to get this figured out. So that's where I started. And then I did switch out my ingredients. And so now I talk about this all the time because it gets me so excited that we have natural answers. It gets me so excited. And I'm not a doctor. I'm just Italian. And I'm super passionate and opinionated. So there you go. That's my disclaimer. But it's just, I reverse engineered what worked inside of my body. I did the same thing with adaptogenic herbs and my hormones. And why did I never have a hot flash? That's another conversation. Do you take them first meal or early while fasting? You know what? I take them in the morning. Either way, I'm going to be honest. Because the glucose product, you want to take 3 times a day, the liver product twice a day, and the Slimetry twice a day. So I start right away in the morning. And those are not fat soluble vitamins. Vitamin D is, Debbie, but these are not. So it's okay. They will tell you to take the glucose 30 minutes before your meal. That's to help you with your own appetite control and your own sugar cravings. Okay. But if you don't, again, it doesn't change the effectiveness. I hope that makes sense. So Debbie, you can go to my site, kirstenliebelt.com. It's my first last name.com. And the 3rd button has the trio on the top of it. The vitamin D that you're asking for, I'm pretty positive it's actually on that 3rd button also on that list. So what you could do is you could put, when you click on the trio, it's a cart. Click it, add it to your own cart, go to the top of the page where there's a person icon, register with your name, check the box for the perks, you guys. Don't miss out on getting points. That's how you get cash off of future orders. And I want people to know that, because everybody's trying to cut a corner these days. You know, there's a way to get free shipping. There's a way to get double points. There's a way to get stuff so that you can actually make the money you're going to spend anyway on, let's say, supplementation, make it work for you. Like, get the perks. But then once you've got that in your cart, you can search vitamin D and add that to your cart also. Okay. So that's how you can do that. Let me know if you have questions on that, Debbie. I'd be more than happy to help you with that. Let's see. Somebody asked me something on Instagram. Hold on. Best anti-inflammatory diet for arthritis. I'm going to say the same thing. Keto. Whole food, real food, not processed food, not marketed, putting butter in your coffee or having fat bombs in your freezer. And I'm not saying you don't eat fat, you do, but it just got to be so out of control. People didn't understand the purpose of everything. That's why I appreciate Maria Emmerich so much, because she'll say protein is your only macro. Like, you guys, when I talk about protein, when I realized, so last week when we went to headquarters and I got to talk to an expert of the line that I rep, he basically talked about protein, and he went way further than I've ever heard anybody go on protein. And he said, listen, because we are so, our micronutrients are not in our foods like they were 50 years ago. We have got to offset with protein. We've got to get our bodies, what's the word he used? Hold on. I wonder why my light is so weird on Facebook today. Hold on. There's a word that he used. It's a simple word, but he was saying that we need to make our bodies efficient at burning fat instead of sugar, efficient at being, like building muscle. And he said the key of your longevity, how long you will live, is directly correlated to the strength of the muscles in your legs. Like he said, don't skip leg day. And I thought that was so interesting. That really struck a chord with me because of my mom and dementia. And we were always telling her, and I know this is a different correlation, but it's kind of like, it just made me think about that. How we always told my mom, listen, Mom, in order for you to live with us, my sister and I, we each had time with my mom over the 5 years. In order to live with us, you have to be able to walk, because we can't carry you, right? So the strength of her legs was so important. But do you know what finally gave out at the end? Now, she obviously had good strength in her legs, so praise God. But when he said that, this is the picture that hit me. So she's living with me, and it's December of 2022. And all of a sudden, now you understand, she's now into her dementia about 5 years. 5 years. And she literally just kind of goes to the floor. She doesn't trip. She doesn't stumble. She doesn't fall like she was going to sit down on the bed and then she fell. Nothing hard. She just literally kind of went like this to the floor. And literally that was the last of her legs. So praise God, again, she had really good strength in her legs. But I'm going to say the keto diet for anti-inflammatory, but also too, because then you actually help to build your muscle and keep it strong. And you don't want to lose weight if you're losing your muscle. It's not worth it, people. And it concerns me a lot actually, for women, because we will lose weight no matter what we have to do. We don't care if it's impacted waist. We don't care if it's water weight. We don't care if it's muscle. Thank you for liking so much. You're amazing. Thank you. Thank you. You're so sweet. So anyway, we don't want to do that. So that's why I get concerned with the injections because I feel like there might be a lot of muscle loss. And so we don't want to do that. So instead, let's do this. If you are looking to speed up your process a little bit, if you're looking to get a little bit of a jump start with your insulin resistance, consider the trio. That's number one. Those are the 3 supplements with the 3 ingredients that help with insulin sensitivity. If you need testimonies on that, the best place to go is Instagram, IG, because at the top there's a pink highlight bubble and you can file through the testimonies. Sugars coming down, weight being lost, sugar cravings being crushed. That's the one that I just took. Literally, she said to me, oh, I need another device. She said to me yesterday, I think I posted it in my stories yesterday. She had her sugar cravings are so down right now that she passed up donuts twice at work. And for her, that was like, what? So that's a big deal. Everybody knows how icky that food noise can get. Hi, Chris. Good to see you. Good to see you. Excuse me. So we know that food noise gets really loud, doesn't it? It gets really strong. And those sugar cravings, we're like, like we just have got to fulfill that craving. But hers are so down. And I'm trying to think if she's maybe taken it for 2 weeks now, maybe. So that's where you can start. But if you are looking to boost, maybe you're already a customer or you're just wanting to know more about helping with inflammation, I have 2 things for you that would make such a huge difference in your inflammation levels. So if you are not, you could never walk away from those. Lori says that would not happen to her. She would never walk away. I get it. I really do. I get it more than you know. I was such a sugar addict. It was obnoxious. I remember buying donuts. I'll tell you about the inflammatory help here in just a second. At church, my husband and I led like a Sunday school, an adult Bible Sunday school for years. And every Sunday morning, the first course of action or Saturday was to go and buy a big thing of donuts from the grocery store because you're going to drink coffee and eat donuts. And we did that every single week. And there was no way that I was not going to eat donuts on a Sunday morning with the adult Sunday school. So I remember that very, very well. I know how yummy and amazing they taste, but actually now I just do something different. But yes, I understand. So inflammation. Okay. 2 things. So number 1, if you're not taking a good probiotic, this is a probiotic stick that I take every single day. I give it to my mother-in-law who's 91. In fact, she's like, I need some more probiotic. It's a powder, but it has a prebiotic and it has 5 strains. Really, really helpful. Literally, they've got like technology in this little stick it's going to stick to your gut and it's going to stay alive. So it can do what it needs to do. Get a good probiotic. That is going to be on, if you go to myfirstlastname.com, it's going to be on button number 6. Okay. And it's called Balance Within. Then turmeric. So button number 6 and now button number 3, turmeric. Did you know that most turmeric is not even absorbable into your body? So here we are buying all this turmeric and we're thinking it's all great for us and it might not even be absorbing. That's frustrating because we're not looking to flush our money down the toilet. That's not our goal, right? Never. So what they did was they created an extract, and everything comes from organic farms, by the way, because you don't want to put potent non-organic sprayed stuff into your body. And that is 45 times more absorbable into your body than an average brand that's on the shelf. So taking 400 milligrams of this line is like taking 6,000 of another line. And they literally it's being promoted very much for pain and discomfort from exercising. Okay, so you have to be careful when you are a supplement company to make sure that you are not making claims that, government doesn't like that, right? But basically what they're saying is if there's inflammation from exercising, right? So oftentimes, what do we do normally? We go to the cupboard and we take out what I used to consider supplementation in my 30s and into my 40s. That literally was my supplementation, and that would be ibuprofen. That was my idea of supplementing. Does it help? Oh, you love turmeric. It helps. You love turmeric. It helps with your pain. Yes. And I'm just telling you, so if you're looking to bring down your inflammation because you know that your insulin is just super high, you know that you just have a lot of inflammation in your body, you know that you've got to finally deal with it. Like you're now taking that step, where, like I say, get into the Facebook group, Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women. We're going to do a challenge in July. You'll take down the month of July. Then you'll go into August. We'll do another challenge. You'll take down the month of August. We'll do it again in September. And we're just going to keep doing this until, right, you can get a track record of consistency, of discipline, of routine, because you need a track to run on so that you can then 6 months later say, these are my results, or this is where I've gone in the last 6 months. Now I'm going to go on to, thank you for the follow. Now I'm going to go to, Chris says, stop rushing the months. You're right. And you're so funny, Chris, because this morning I literally thought about this. So I live in Minnesota, and obviously I'm exaggerating, but I live in Minnesota, and I was thinking tonight about, I'm going to go to a business meeting, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what I'm going to wear. And I'm like, I really do just need to prioritize white, because September will hit and we're back to boots. We're back to fall. We're back to, and it's not necessarily because the weather, it's just that Labor Day, you go back into boots again for, boots and jeans. And anyway, whatever. So Chris, I understand. I'm going to stay right here in June because I love summer so much. I love it so much. So I am with you. But the point being that you have to have a little bit of a long-term thought process. Let me just encourage you. We have to stop our high school mindset of we want to lose weight for the dance. We have to stop this. We have to stop wanting magic pills and potions and everything else. But what we can do, and some people do get fast results, and of course I post them all the time. But I don't want you to then get frustrated if your healing journey takes a little longer. Have grace for yourself. Do it without shaming yourself. Do it without telling yourself that you're such a loser, that you don't have any discipline, that you'll never be able to figure out how to eat better or to have more discipline or incorporate a routine. That's not true. It just takes time. And 21 days to a habit is BS. That's a joke. There is no such thing as, in my opinion, there is no such thing as 21 days to a habit. It took me probably 3 years of having carb blocker in my pockets. I'm just going to tell you the honest truth. And I apologize because now I just said the word carb blocker and it's out of inventory until July 15th or something. I'm sorry, because I get so many people that want that. And it's so helpful, but that's what I did. You're in Illinois, so you understand, Chris. I was just in Illinois, as you know. And so I'm just saying, like, change your thought process, have some grace, go on a little bit of a journey, allow yourself to actually think, where do I want to be in, December of 2024, but how about June of 2025? The time is going to pass anyway, people. It's going to pass anyway. I was going to go from 51 to 59, whether I wanted to or not, whether I did something about my own food or not, whether I ever switched out an ingredient, whether or not I ever switched out a recipe, whether or not I ever stayed true to my own supplement regimen, which is literally, this is my world, right? But my results are different than they were going to be had I not incorporated things, right? So my dad took the path of meds and he was gone at 63. All of the heart issues, all of the dialysis, low functioning life, terrible quality of life, terrible. His quality of life went like this until he was gone. I'm so not interested. So not my idea of fun. So I took that and I kind of like internalized that and I went, no, I'm going to have grandbabies someday. I'm going to be a different kind of a grandparent. I'm going to be the grandparent that can get on the floor with my grandbabies. I'm going to be the grandparent that has energy to run around with them and do things with them. I'm not going to spend my years of my 50s and my 60s and my 70s having surgery, having hip replacements and knee replacements and constant anesthesia, which I think is extremely detrimental to our bodies. And I don't even know if we can completely like detox from it. And I watched it happen with my mom. And I'm just kind of making things up a tiny bit only on my own experience. Like I don't have scientific evidence to tell you that. I think it's Cheryl. I think the carb blocker is July 15th. I don't have scientific evidence. Like I didn't look it up to say what are the negative effects of anesthesia. But we can probably all agree that taking in something and having to detox it, your body probably needs to be strong enough to do that. Yeah, you're welcome. And so what happened was she had many different hip replacements and she had a knee replacement. But that knee replacement, that's when I noticed the difference. It's almost like she couldn't quite clear her body, the anesthesia, and it revealed her dementia, which we did not pick up on. I look back now, I was thinking about that this morning. Oh man, I can see it, because when we took care of her, I could see when you have dementia, you get overwhelmed quickly, right? If you're in a room of a lot of people, a lot of noise, because your brain is just la 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 la. You can't quite piece everything together, and that's why oftentimes somebody with dementia might just kind of stare at a wall. Their bandwidth is gone, right? Well, I saw her bandwidth and I didn't pick up on it. I saw it leave her after that knee surgery, and physical therapy was overwhelming for her, just a different level. And she never really cleared after that. And then it might have been 1 or 2 years later. That's when we went. I think it was 1 year later. It was 1 year later. She actually could tell herself. And she said, I think it's time for me to look for a place to live. And we're like, what are you talking about? You're fine. Like, we didn't see any of this. And 6 months later, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, 7 months later, we were moving her out of her home that she had been in for 50 years. So avoiding all of these things is paramount in my brain. So I will keep talking about the supplements that I took to go from insulin resistant to insulin sensitive, what I've now layered my world with. Like, I'm not stupid. I'm 59 now. I know that I do eat pretty well, not going to lie. I don't eat hardly any processed food at all. However, I'm not perfect, just like everybody else, meaning I don't ask the restaurant, are those berries organic? Did you fry in seed oil? Some people do. And that's perfect. Like, go for that. If that is go for that. There are people who are working to turn back auto thingamajiggers. And you have to be tighter. You got to tighten up harder. We can all tighten up to the level that we need to for ourselves. Okay. And just know that there's a spectrum. Live within the spectrum. Stop comparing yourself to somebody else, and within the spectrum that's serving you. Okay. And do it without shame. That's my big piece. I just need to see if I'm missing something. I think I am here. Hold on. Is raw turmeric helpful? I do not know. That's a good question. I don't know what you mean by raw. I don't know what you mean by that. I think you just mean powder. And again, turmeric is actually not that absorbable into our systems by itself. And so the turmeric that I'm talking about, and the benefit of the turmeric blend that I talk about, it has fenugreek in it, and that helps with sugars too. But they put it into extract form. And so I think that the method that the vehicle that they put something in can get it into your system. I feel like that's why 400 milligrams of their turmeric is equivalent to 6,000 of somebody else's, because of the, there's a word that I'm looking for. It's not the vehicle, but let's see here. Let's talk it out. Talk it out, people. The modality, the method, the carrier, the way that's being carried into your system. Still not quite the word, but that's okay. But if you have any questions on any of that, please reach out to me. You can, up on TikTok, there's my face up here. You can click on that, and then my face will come up again, and you can go to my page, and there is a hashtag there where you can talk to me this way. Okay, you can do this, and you can say, hey, I was on your live and you mentioned the turmeric, or you mentioned the probiotic, or you mentioned the trio, or whatever. And catalyst, maybe that's a good word, Jackie. Thank you for that. Once a day, Chris, for the probiotic. The stick is once a day. And you can either put it in your mouth. That's what I did this morning. Do not put it in anything hot because it's active live cultures and you don't want it to be killed by hot. So you can sprinkle it on cold food, but I love the method of this just because it's powder, so it's convenient. It doesn't have to be refrigerated, but yet it has stay alive technology. It can be put into your purse, and it will actually stick to the inside of your gut to do its job, all that good stuff. And it has 5 strains and a prebiotic. So thanks for that question. But you can do this to me and you can message me this way. IG, you can get into my inbox. FB, you can get into my messenger and you can ask me questions. Like you mentioned this or you mentioned that, like, don't just, if you have any confusion about anything, what I know is that a confused mind does nothing. So don't do that. Like, don't self-sabotage your own progress of taking action. Okay. So you can always, ask me so that you don't purchase something you don't need. Like, don't do that. Don't waste your money. Like, get what you do need and not what you don't need. That's kind of what I would say about that. But you could always message me testimonies for the trio. If you want to jump TikTok, if you want to jump over to the IG, at the very top, there's a pink button. And what I've been doing is, as I get in texts, I put them into my stories and then I drop them into that pink highlight bubble. And so I started doing that at the beginning of the year. And so these are very fresh, which is very exciting. It should give people a lot of hope. Suzette, you're awesome. She said she's awesome at responding when you reach out. Thank you for that, Suzette. It's literally what I do. Keto diet on farm. Raised chickens is good. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I wish that I had. That is one thing. My daughter, she has some chickens, but she needs to get more in order to create more eggs. So she does. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I get eggs from somebody who has farm fresh eggs, and I'll get like 8 dozen at a time. But I would love to get farm fresh chickens, farm fresh chicken meat. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. And remember that when you eat, oh, you're so sweet, Suzette. Very helpful. You're so nice. Oh, she says that you all are not alone with me, that I'm very helpful. Thank you, Suzette. You're so sweet. Just remember that when you eat more protein, when you get that protein way, way up, like this guy, this expert that I was talking to, and I was able to ask him some really good questions that I needed answered for some of my customers. His protein formula is very high. Like, he gets it way, way up there. He's 57 and he has like 9% body fat, but he was just saying that getting it way up there is so beneficial for so many things. And I want to reiterate that to you guys because it helps you to maintain your lean muscle mass. It stabilizes your blood sugars. Like this morning, I had 4 eggs and a chicken sausage. My blood sugars will stay like this now for hours. They won't even blip. And then that means I will not call on very much insulin. And then on top of that, I will be full and I will be satiated. I won't be hangry. I won't be chasing carbs. I'm just going to feel good now. And usually it's about 4 hours. And I don't even notice it. Like, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just, which is so, if you even knew how not me that is, if you even knew, because I understand your conversation about the food noise. I understand. And it takes time for that to go away because it's not, the food noise up here is not matching the hunger here, is it? It doesn't match. But this has been just a part of our universe for a long time, right? And we're all overcoming our own brain stuff, all of us. So before I jump off, the last thing I want to say is there's a good book called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. It's by Shad Helmstetter. Since I went down that road, that's a good one. Vicky, good question. She says, what is your glucose level after eating your breakfast? I don't know, but I'm going to tell you why. So I took my blood 4 times a day when I was gestational diabetic with my first baby. And so I did that. And then when I delivered my first baby, they said, oh, you're good to go. And then they didn't tell me anything else. So when I got into my 40s and my mom wouldn't leave me alone and I started to do my supplementation routine, etc., I was super scared. So I was paying attention to, because my dad, let's see, let's say an injury, not an injury. I have a cut. Let's say I got cut. I would pay attention to how am I healing? Am I healing normal? Because when you're diabetic, you don't. It's kind of one of the things. And my dad had sores on his legs, and you know the routine if you're type 2 or if you've seen somebody with a lot of insulin resistance and they have a lot of discoloration on their legs, discoloration up here. And then my mom would be saying, are you peeing all the time? Are you thirsty all the time? Do you get your sugars checked, etc.? Okay. So I was kind of scared. So I'm going to be honest. I avoided doctors because I didn't want to know. So I start doing everything, whatever, and I start turning everything around, and I can tell like my brain fog gets better. My sugar cravings reduce, my appetite comes under control, the food noise starts to simmer down. I can tell my body's going into a different direction. I'm like, oh, thank God, and no, my sores never kept from healing. And I'm like, okay, good. Whew, doing okay. And so then I just then went from that straight into a keto journey where I had to learn that new language. And so now, oh, I've had a shoulder surgery, stuff happens, right? And so you go in and you have things done where they're testing everything and stuff. And I've just never, because of the path that I took, I never had high sugars again. So I'm just saying, so I don't test my sugars. I have thought about having a continuous glucose monitor. Like there are some guys on TikTok that do that, and then they test foods. And I just can't get myself to agree internally to test foods that are going to spike my sugars and make me feel bad. I love how I feel so much all the time. I'm not willing to compromise, but I will tell other people, like if you think that a continuous glucose monitor will help you identify the foods that are spiking your sugars because maybe you're confused about what you've been marketed to, do it. Know your sugars. In fact, if you're type 2 for sure, because when supplements actually work, you need to know so that you don't like offset what you're doing. You have to know what you're doing. Oh, you've heard that farm-raised chickens are inflammatory. I don't know that's a good question. I don't know. What would the alternative be? Aren't all chickens raised on farms? You mean yeah, I would think that institutionalized raising of chickens would be more inflammatory. Do you have to completely go keto or can you do low carb? We are running family and need carbs. Oh, Chris, well, I'm going to let you assess your own body on that, to be really honest. I understand the conversation. I've never been a runner. I won't lie about that one. I would seriously maybe look up people like Dr. Ken Berry. I would ask that question in YouTube. Find people that can answer that better than me because it's not my wheelhouse. And the thing is that, okay, I'm going to make it more easy than that. Carbs are in almost everything. Carbs aren't in meat, or most dairy. It depends on the dairy and how much of the fat they've taken out. So that was a bad example because skim milk has high carbs, but like in meat, etc. But onions have carbs. Green peppers have carbs. It's not hard to get 20 carbs a day. So sometimes people will say, I'm 50 or below carbs a day, but I'm not losing weight and they need to tweak down to 20. So I would assume, I'll bet you anything that there are people who are keto and they're runners. And I would just look it up because, for instance, like now people who go carnivore, they build muscle like nobody's business. And so I don't know. Yeah. Mostly veggies and fruit. You know what, Chris, if it's working for you, I don't know what else to say. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that's not my wheelhouse, But if you're super interested in that, go do some research. Go on YouTube and say, keto and running. and find out what people are saying and see where that line is, or see how they're accomplishing that, because you can get sugar fruit other than berries is going to spike your sugar more. But you can also get carbs from, let's say, you can get carbs from places that aren't spiking your sugars as high, is maybe what I want to say. I worked with somebody who was doing marathons, and her idea of getting her carbs was to eat candy all day long because she was training every single day. So she ate candy. Well, that's a carbohydrate, right? But then she's spiking. And even though you're a runner, then you have a belly because you're spiking and calling on insulin. And your cell is saying no more because your cell, in layman's term, is stuffed. So then now all of the extra fuel is being turned into fat because insulin is a fat storing hormone. So you can still get carbs, but you can get them from places that don't spike your sugars as much. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah, do the research for sure. I would love to know what you find out because, again, I'm so not a runner. I consider shopping a sport. No, I'm just kidding. But I do love to shop. But anyway, no, farmers' chickens are not inflammatory, Carrie says. Thank you for that, Carrie. I appreciate you. So anyway, y'all have such a good day. And I will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m., 10 a.m. Sometimes I'm just like, today was 10:10. What's up with that? Depends on what's going on in my morning. But I'll be back at 10 a.m. and we'll have another really fantastic conversation. But if you need anything, make sure that you reach out, and you can always, you can go to my site, first, last name, kirstenliebelt.com, and you can look at the different buttons. One of the buttons is the deficiencies caused by type 2 scripts. One of them is the trio and some of the other layers that I've added on my list, etc. There's a gut health one. So if you need to deal with your gut, let's get on it. I have a gut health product launching on August 7th. I'm so excited about that. So you can be sure I'll be telling you about that. Beth, thank you for the follow. I appreciate you. But if you have questions, let me know. Okay. So have a super terrific day. And if you get into the Facebook group, Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women, there's a Facebook blue button on my site. If you get in there, you will at some point, I can't give you a guarantee of the timing because there's people getting in every day. You'll get tagged in a free recipe PDF that is recipes, snacks, recipes, and pantry ideas. Okay. So it's just something that I can help you. It's a step I can give you to at least get you, like, your brain starting to recalibrate a tiny bit. And then we'll have a challenge in July, and it will not be the week of the 4th. It'll be the following week. Okay. And we'll do a 5-day challenge. I believe it's going to be 5-day. And that will help you get on a track to run on. So you can grab the trio now, be ready for the challenge. If you need anything else to help mitigate inflammation or cortisol or whatever, you can do that. And we'll get you going and up and running. And then you'll hit the fall with a completely different perspective. How does that feel for you, inside of you, to have a track to run on, to have somebody that will encourage you, support you, been there, done that, loves food, foodie, Italian, sugar addict. Anyway, all right. You guys have such a good day, and be super blessed. And I'll chat with you tomorrow. Bye. People are messaging me. I can hear the thing. There we go. See you later. TikTok. Okay, there we go. All right, Facebook. Well, you guys have a really good day. You can always drop stuff in the comments and I can get back to you. So see you later.